Hello everybody, it's Mike Levin from Mike Levin SEO and now Flying Point Digital. And it's Friday, October 3rd at about 1:50 p.m. and this video is sort of a Hail Mary play to get something productive done on today, my first work from home Friday. But it is also Yom Kippur at sunset and we'll be celebrating it in the Catskills, so I need to leave early. And so today is a fairly short day. And I'm gonna first start out with trying to replace the IP with what this should be on my network. I've never tried this yet, but it should be MikeLevinSEO.local. Same page comes up. So that's going to be the new way I address this location while I'm working local. That's actually a fairly important step because when this becomes a more popular project and people do this on perhaps a Raspberry Pi and plug it into their internal network, they're going to want to type to it and they don't need to know the IP. I learned this from the Coder project, and I guess I knew it from before, but the Google Coder project for the Raspberry Pi really hit home the fact that you can do this. So it's hostname.local : the port you're working on. Step one. Okay. Step two is going to be, well, first of all, the fact that this pipulation process is actually working if you provide a document key. And so half of the personality of Pipulate is already there. We hit that, we flip over here, we see the question marks replaced by the output of the functions that reside at the bottom of this. You're seeing the output of this function and this function, which for future reference are going to be replaced by quite fancy functions that like figure out the apparent targeted page of a URL or the targeted keyword of a URL. And we need to get the other side of the personality of this project working by making it work with a CSV file. And I've done a reboot since my last thing, so hopefully, yeah, it went into the correct directory. We do this, and we do this, and it actually does upload the file. I'll make a liar out of me. No such file or directory sample.csv. Yeah, that is the beginning of the pipulation process. That actually is true. The upload has occurred, and then it tried to actually go ahead and do its work, which if you do an ls in this directory, you'll see I did not unload the file into this directory from the form upload, nor would I really want to, because this is where the .py files, the code execution files, are. And even though I'm going to limit this to only upload .csv files, nothing else will actually be able to hit the hard drives. You would never want it to hit the hard drive in web space. So that's where we're up to right now, making what I just did there actually drop the file somewhere and then having the program look for it in the correct location. So I pause while I do a little Googling about how to do this in Flask and the other tools I'm using, and we'll be right back. Okay, what we have here is uploading files, a gentle introduction. And you can see there's a couple of imports, and there's this odd thing called secure file name that has to do with never trusting user input. And then we set, you see these all uppercase, that's a Python convention for a constant. Even though it doesn't enforce constants, you know you're looking at one. And they're setting a path, and then a set of allowed extensions. It's fed in a list as a set, and then then there's code to do the upload. So let's go start doing that. First of all, this constant stuff, whenever you have a constant like that, I'm putting that in that globs location. So this is a convenient place to vim globs.py, and we're going to be creating Shift-G, Shift-O, not Shift-O, just O. It's going to be, they recommend upload underscore folder. I'll stick with that. Upload underscore folder equals, and for the sake of making it work, I'm going to choose a location in Unix/Linux called TMP, which always has very permissive write privileges, and it doesn't get a trailing slash, and so that is that. And then the other one is allowed extensions. And I'll just copy this and then just change it to CSV. And I'll go here and do an escape and then Shift D and then CSV, close, close, close. Okay, so now we've got a couple of constants we can use over in our other file. Now I had just jumped to the bottom. I'll jump back up to the top, and I'm going to just scroll with a Control F a screen forward at a time to just kind of remind ourselves what's going on here. It's been a little while since I've done this coding. So yeah, here is the new equivalent of main. And if there's data in the CSV file field of the form, then we call the Pipulate function with local as our parameter. And that's where the magic occurs. It's in the Pipulate function. And we see that's still quite small. And we have the equivalent of a switch here. And when local is fed in, it calls the function dblocal. Some of these names might need to change, but we won't worry about that now. The magic happens in here. I don't know necessarily if we've got the form object here. We're going to need to do some unpacking when we call this, and we might need to feed this some additional parameters. Or perhaps we do the unpacking up here, and then we're just going to know where to look for the file on the drive. So if form dot, okay, yep. So here we're sitting on top of something that can be unpacked and popped onto the hard drive, such as it is. It's really an SD card because we're running our code on the Raspberry Pi right now. And yeah, we got some code here. We won't need to use those 2 bits. Now remember, we want to set paste to not get funky indentation. And still I get some funky indentation. The solution to that, I suppose, is to start at the beginning there. Make sure we're in insert mode, paste. And now we can Shift V, escape, Shift V. Right arrow, or right arrow once, and then dot, 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 dot to get it over there. Now we've got everything in memory as far as the tools we need to unpack the form data and turn it back into a file. And we already have this running as a web server. We don't need to get things running as a web server again. Although we may need this, yeah, equals, and then it will just add globs dot to that. Now whenever you do this, it's useful to flip over here and make sure that the web server restarts without an error so that you didn't introduce any syntax mistakes. And now we look down here, there's some things to read. This is mostly about making sure that your .csv file really is a .csv file. We'll eventually do some defenses against cross-site scripting attacks. We can get that because we're using Flask _ WTF. I deactivated that feature right now, but we'll be bringing it back. And yeah, okay, if this stuff, so you've got, yeah, there, file name equals secure file name. Okay, there's a file object. File equals, interesting, request.files. And then, so that's where we populate an object in memory that contains what was on the form submit. So that, I believe, is going to go here. We paste that in, and then request.files, and it's going to be CSV file, because that's the name of our field, and I see nothing else it could conceivably be. And loud.file. I see, we need an allowed extensions function. Oh, there goes that thing.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention? This is Vice President Director. We conducted the test of the fire alarm system. Please disregard all.
Okay, please disregard all flashing lights and sirens. I guess I'll put it up here just as a precaution. I don't think we're going to face any strange order sensitivity, but it does happen. And I'm going to get my conventional spaces. I know there's easier ways to do this, but I'm going to do it this way because it's the fastest thing right now. Okay, so now we have the allowed underscore file to be able to refer to. Server keeps restarting without error. That's a good thing. And the use of that is if file and that file, okay, we have a file object, file name we're creating, file name equals secure. So this we need to have existing before this is even called. So I look up here to see where file name is brought into existence. I don't particularly see it. Okay, it might be a property of the file object. It's probably what it is. So we'll be able to do that. App config, upload folder, file name, and then a return with a redirect URL for after uploading the file. I'll deal with that on my own. But these do look like what I need, which will go right here. If something, then that. And after that, there should be a file sitting in temp by a particular name. And that's what we're going to test right now on this video. We'll use this, we'll cd and do tmp and we'll ls there. You can see there's nothing there. Now, if I were to choose a file, choose this, and I'm not going to hit Pipulate just yet. I want to make sure the server's still running. That's good, the server's running. And I want to double check my code that it should actually end up with sample.csv in the /tmp directory. It looks like it will. It's still going to generate an error on the web browser because it's looking for it in the wrong location. But if we go back over here, we do an ls, okay, pause, unpause. That wasn't difficult to find. If request.method equals post, and it says unbound local error variable request referenced before assignment. So I'm looking inside a request object, and okay, after having looked at this for a while and suffered through a whole bunch of fire alarms, it's really starting to get on my nerves. I believe it's being caused by re-importing and new values being set for that line. And it was crapping out just merely on hitting the URL without a form submit. So there we go with our restarting our server. And now if I can even just do this without an error, that's good. I'm much more enthusiastic because the request object should absolutely be available at this point. That's where all the example code puts it. So let's try again. Choose that file, Pipulate. We will get an error, okay, but it's not going to be that error. Yes, great. Different error than before. And we should be able to go over to here and do an ls. Okay, still not there, but this is something I can deal with. You tried to access the CSV file in the request files dictionary, but it does not exist. Okay. In the request.files dictionary, but it does not exist. Instead of multi-part data, which means that no file contents were transmitted, you should provide enc type equals multi-part data in your form. Interesting. And our form is being created. Let's see if I can remember where that's being done. Okay, it's down here. No, it's up here. This is the price of leaving your code for a week. It's just the necessity to refamiliate yourself with it. Yeah, there's the pip form. Okay, so there's something about, okay, so what we're going to do is search on file field in that thing I just copied. Well, it's Flask file field, and that. Form action enc type. Okay, so you put that in the form action method name. That's going to be in the, we may need one more of these guys. I'll use this one for now. cd home Pipulate templates, Pipulate.html. There's our form. ENC, okay. I think that's in my copy buffer. It is. Save. Could it be that easy? Drum roll, please. We will get an error, we know that. Hey, it's a different error than before. So let's go, this is the one we don't need. Okay, not there. 84, 68, allowed extensions. Allowed extensions is not defined. We need to put that globs in there. Line 68. One more time. Oh, it's restarting. Okay. Hey, no file, no such directory. Go to the temp directory, ls, voila, sample.csv. Now all we have to do is recode our this into to look in /tmp for the file. Now there's going to be an issue of path names and stuff, but let's look at where we tell it to upload, and that's how we'll tell it where to look to download. So there's this thing here. Shift V, yank, and the error was on line 116, colon 116. Aha, with open, there it is. O, escape, P, BD, we didn't need that O. X, 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 X. Okay, we don't need all that stuff, but we do need this. We're doing an open, and that's the file name there, but we might need to append os.path.join.app.config upload folder, and here the save has support for let's see, where's that comma coming? Oh, that's a dot join, os path join. Oh, well, that should work here too. Os path join. Ah, almost made a mistake. I see. So join, we're doing an os path join of that with that, and that should actually work, although that will have to have a closing parenthesis there, which matches with that one, which looks correct, which will be a miracle if this actually works. So instead of merely just looking for the existence here, we are going to take a quick look at the file, okay? Is it just that one line? Clear, less. Okay, yeah, that's a little more like it. Those M things are actually returned, so you got 3 lines there with the question marks in there. So that's a before. Quit to make sure there's no file lock. Back. Pipulate. Well, the is a little disappointing. Okay, it's with the stuff I put in there. Yeah, OS not defined. We need to do the import of the OS again. So hate to just scroll around like that, but okay, import OS. Yeah, that's probably all we need. G semicolon to jump where we were editing. Import OS. Might be that simple. Wait for server to restart. Pipulate. Okay, server had not restarted. Pipulate. I would have pipulated, but I think you have pipulated. Let's check. Question marks are still there. But it did in fact, let me think. So that was on the open. Oh, it wrote back to home, pipulate, ls, we will find it in there. Vim, no less, sample out. Question marks replaced. Hurrah! File uploading and question mark replacement now working, and it's only just a matter of targeting the output file to the right location for subsequent download, which will be a second tutorial because this has run long enough, but this was a huge mission accomplished. Thanks for joining me, and there's still some final dots to be connected, but they're fewer and fewer. I'll talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.